For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Thanks for tuning in at thescribbleshow.com and on SoundCloud and iTunes. How's it going today? You know, I've got 30 minutes to just have a chat with you. It seems like it's been forever since I've had that opportunity, but there's a lot on my mind as always, and I'm going to share that with you today. We're going to talk about relationships. Is it ever okay to lie to your partner? I'll tell you, I'll set the scene for you in a little while, okay? Don't jump to conclusions right now, but I'll give you some scenarios and you tell me if it's okay to lie to your partner. Also, have you ever been busted saying something about somebody, or think that you were busted saying something about somebody and had to go into panic mode and go, oh crap, do I need to do damage control now, or what happened? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you're bad-mouthing somebody and all of a sudden they walk around the corner and you're like, oh geez, did they hear what I was saying? Okay, I'll tell you a story about that coming up as well. And we also know that dogs are ultimately loyal until the end. I have a story from my household about my dogs and my rabbits. I'll tell you about that coming up in just a little bit. And also, you know, people, when they name drop, usually it's about celebrities, right? They want to look like a big shot that they know people and they know this person, that person, or what have you. What about when somebody's name dropping and you have no idea who those people are? What do you do? Do you know what I'm talking about? If you feel me, you feel me. If you don't, you don't. But I'll explain everything coming up in the next 30 minutes. Let's get into the chatter. It starts right after this.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on The Scribble. And again, thanks for tuning in at thescribbleshow.com and on SoundCloud and iTunes. 2 quick stories for you, and you know how there's just little things that get under your skin, right? Just little bad habits that people have that you don't feel like addressing because it's not really a thing, or other people wouldn't see it as a thing, but for you it is, but it still seems petty, so you're not going to bring it up to them. Do you know what I mean? Okay, if you don't, let me set the scene. I've got 2 scenarios here with people using names, okay? And I'll tell you why it bothers me. So the first story is, let's say that you're talking with somebody, you know, maybe it's a friend or family member, and they reference somebody by first name, right? So let me just come up with an example here. So you're talking with your friend Jan, and Jan talks about Roger. Okay, so your friend is Jan. You guys know each other, you're besties, whatever it is. She starts telling you a story, and she brings up Roger. Now, is that kosher to do if you have no idea who Roger is? Do you know what I'm talking about? Like somebody who, it's almost like name dropping, but I mean, not that they're a celebrity or anything, but they just throw the name out there. Oh yeah, I'm getting together with Dan and Betty tomorrow, and da-da-da-da. And then you're kind of sitting there going, all right, well, I don't know who Dan and Betty are, but all right, fine. But then they reference them again, and then they keep talking about them. Like, do you actually interrupt and say, sorry, tell me again, who's Dan and Betty? Roger? I don't, you have to, like, Do you do that, or do you just sort of play along? Do you just kind of go, oh yeah, right. And maybe they've even mentioned Roger like several times before, but you still have, you know the name. That's all you know is the name. See, I'm conscious of that when I talk to people. So what I do is, let's say I'm referring to my friend Raylene, who is my accountant, okay? So what I do is I'll tell this story. Oh yeah, we're getting together. My accountant, her name is Raylene. So once I've set that up for you, now I use her name for the rest of the conversation, right? You don't really know much about her, but at least I've placed the name, right? I don't want to keep going, my accountant, my accountant, my accountant. Oh, yeah, no, my cousin. Or if I'm talking with my brother, right? I don't want to keep saying my brother, my brother. I'll be like, oh, well, I was talking with my brother Trevor, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And, and then Trevor said... and then he said, right? Like, because now I've identified who it is, the relation, the connection, and you know what I'm saying? So, but do you have people who kind of just do that and you have no idea who Jan and Roger and Betty and all these other people are? Like, it annoys me. And so again, do you say something to them? Do you tell them, like, sorry, who is Roger? Or do you just kind of play along as though you know them? Send me an email, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. Now, the second story about names kind of actually does play into this similarly, okay? It's about adults, grown-ups, people my age, your age, adults referring to their parents as mom and dad. Or... do you refer to your parents as my mom? So, okay, I'm talking with my friend Jan or my accountant Raylene, and I mention about going to my parents' house, and I would say, my mom made pizza, right? Okay? Because mom isn't her name when I'm an adult, right? Right? I call my mom Dragon, so maybe this isn't a good example, but I'm not saying like mom with a capital M because I'm using it as a proper name, as you do when you're a child, right? Right? So I would say my mom made us pizza. But there's other people who would say, oh yeah, I went to my parents, mom made pizza. Okay, now different though if perhaps I'm talking to my brother, right? Because I'm not going to say my mom, because that's his mom too, as far as we know. But, right, so I'm talking to my brothers, and I'm going to say mom made pizza, because it is a proper name in that sense, in a way, right? I could say our mom, I guess. But if I'm talking to my accountant, or whoever it is, or a colleague, oh yeah, I went to my parents' place last night, yeah, my mom made pizza. But I don't refer to that as, I don't say, yeah, mom made pizza. What do you think about that, too? What do you think about that? Tell me your thoughts. And this also goes back to on, like, The Bachelor, when you're talking, when you see the women who are talking about their parents or whatever, and they call their dad daddy still, and they're, like, 20, 30 years old. I don't know. Anyway, do you refer to your parents as my mom, my dad, when you're talking to a friend or a coworker, or do you refer to them as a proper name? Send me an email again. live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. See, I told you at the beginning of this story, these aren't like big major deals, so if you do point this out to somebody, you're just going to look like a petty dick. But it's just, you're gonna listen for it now, though. I think that you're gonna pay more attention that I've brought this to your attention. You're welcome, everybody. You're welcome. But no, I'd love to know your thoughts. And if there's anything else in the linguistics or grammar or pronunciation realms that gets under your skin or sticks in your craw, so to speak, send me an email. Would love to hear it. live@jbonair.com.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on The Scribble. Thanks for tuning in at thescribbleshow.com and on SoundCloud and iTunes. Do you ever have one of those days where you're kind of just having a crummy time at work, and there's really not anything in particular that has set you off? It's just kind of one of the, it's one of those days. Nothing bad happened. Nobody pissed you off. Nobody, there's not really anything you can put your finger on that has changed your mood. You're just kind of blah, right? It's just one of those days. You're not depressed. I'm just saying you're sort of neutral, but you kind of want to get home just because. You just want to be away from people. So I was having one of those days not too long ago, and there's always just the sanctity of your home, right? Like, it's kind of like, oh, I'm home. It's all good now. I'm safe. It's my place. I'm in my territory. I'm in my zone. And I have a few pets. I've got several pets. I've got 2 dogs and 2 rabbits, okay? And so it's always nice to kind of come home because you get that excitement from the dogs. And every day, I've had the one's 11 years old and the other one is 7.5. And without fail, like, when I come home, there's excitement. There's barking, there's tails wagging, it's time to play, and, all this stuff. And so I was having a day, and I thought, you know what, going home, okay, that's what I need, is I just need to have a night with the guys, And so I come through the back door. I always use the back door, and I open the door, and then there's like a door between the kitchen and the back door. Like, I've got like a sort of a back landing, so the dogs don't greet me right as soon as I open that outside door. They can hear me come in, and so they start to go crazy. So I just come in from outside, and the smell hits me. I know that smell. It's dog crap. And so I was just like, all right, And here's the thing. I mean, I know that time is coming. I know that with a dog that's 11 years old, he's going to start to have those accidents, right? Because I was gone for like 10 hours or whatever it was. So I know, I realize that. I had a dog when we were growing up, and I realized that's eventually what happens. And so I didn't think anything of it. I mean, it's happened before where they'll, just have an accident. They'll just have to go, right? I mean, it happens. It happens not very often. I'm trying to think. The last time that I came home to the smell of dog crap in my house, probably a couple years ago. I mean, so it's certainly not frequent. Anyway, so that smell just kind of hits you, right? And it's winter, and obviously it's now circulated through the house, the smell, because he did it right in front of a furnace vent. Isn't that clever? So, okay, I'm like, all right, I smell it. Well, whatever. So I open the door. They come charging outside, and, they go into the backyard. They do their thing. And then I come into the kitchen, turn on the light, and my feet are wet. Why are my feet wet? What happened? Was there, because, it's winter, so maybe, did I track in snow? Like, what? Oh, okay. I turn on the light, and I look, and I'm like, there's no snow on the floor. Like, what is it? Like, it's just... And then I see that almost the entire kitchen is flooded. It looks like... So I go and I'm like, was the sink on? Did I leave maybe the freezer open and, things are... where is this water coming from? Like, what happened? So again, I'm very confused as to what is happening in my house. So I still smell the dog crap. It's not in the kitchen. I don't know where it is. I haven't found that. But now I'm standing in a pool of water. And what is this? And so then I'm like, all right. And I see that it's just sort of all over. Not the entire floor. Like, we're not talking underwater, but certainly, a puddle that has now kind of spread. Come to find out that it's dog pee. Because I went and got some paper towel, which I realized very quickly was not enough. So I ended up getting actual towels downstairs from the laundry room, just sort of grubby towels. And... because, the color of it's like a bit yellow. It wasn't clear water when I'm actually, mopping it up with the rag or the towels. And so I was like, okay, so there's dog piss all over the kitchen floor. I haven't located the dog crap, but I know that that's somewhere in the house. So then I go to the living room and I see the piles. We're talking not just one, a couple of piles of dog crap. And I was like, what the hell went on? What is going on here? I've got, my house has turned into a bathroom all of a sudden. So I was very, very confused. And then, like I said, I've got 2 dogs and 2 rabbits. I go and I have the light on in the living room now, and then I go and look at the rabbit cage, and they're usually kind of like up on their hind legs as soon as they, hear me come in and they want to play with the dogs or whatever it is. And the one rabbit is laying in the cage, laying on his side in the cage. And he's also 11 years old, and so I thought, oh my God, he died. My rabbit died. So not only do I have dog crap in the living room and dog piss all over my floor, I come home to a dead rabbit. Now, here's the good news. Rabbit was not dead. Okay? But this is only, I can only speculate because the dogs haven't told me what the problem was. But I believe that they thought that the rabbit was dead and just started to freak out and didn't know what to do. That's what I think happened, because they're very reactionary. Like if one dog pukes, then the other one, I call it the sympathy pukes, will then get worked up and he will throw up then like a minute later. So I'm thinking that's what happened, because I also did find, a couple piles of puke. We're talking like I should probably rip out my flooring in the living room and in the kitchen, just because that's how, like, really it was bad, or I just need a really, really good cleaning. And so I went from being like fury, it was maddening, right? Because the last thing, after you've had a day that you just want to come home, to then have to now, I've got to, mop up the kitchen floor. And it's not just a matter of drying it. Obviously now I've got to wash the floor too, right? Because I don't want to have, sticky dog piss everywhere. And then the carpet. It's one thing to go and pick up the piles of this stuff, but now I've got to, deodorize and scrub it and whatever. And so, you're frustrated, you're angry, you want to, in your head, you want to yell at the dog, right? Bad, 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 bad. But you know what? They had to go, so they had to go. Or but now that I feel like they've reacted to something, I'm not as angry, right? Because I can't really blame them. They were freaking out. That's their buddy, right? Like I said, the dog is 11 years old, and the rabbit's going to be 11 years old. So they've grown up together, really. And the dogs are very good friends with the rabbits. If you've seen any pictures on our radio show website or on the Scribble website, like they cuddle with each other, they lay on the couch with each other, all four of them. It's like a big pile of fur. So that is like one of their best friends who, I guess they thought had died. So sad, story. But again, just one of those moments where you're like, I just want to get home and I just want to do nothing. I'm going to veg on the couch. No, I had an hour and something of cleaning, and it was just such a frustrating day. So here's what I did after. To make it all better, I polished off a goddamn bottle of wine in about an hour and a half, and then I put on, at about 8:30 or so, I went on the TV and I went and found like a movie. I was like, I just want to laugh. I just need something to take my mind off it. And I found the old Naked Gun movies, Leslie Nielsen, O.J. Simpson, not Michelle Pfeiffer, Priscilla Presley. Who was it? Anyway, so I went and watched all 3 of the Naked Gun movies. Was there 3 of them? I watched 3. I don't know, maybe there's more than that. And I had a bottle of wine and just watched movies and laughed my ass off for the rest of the night. I wasn't drunk, but I certainly could have been, certainly. But anyway, just thought I'd share that story with you. Feel free, tell me the joys of owning pets if you have any. What kind of surprises have you had when you've come home? Send me an email, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
Jeremy Bradley back on the Scribble. I need your thoughts and advice on this. And when I say I have a friend who, I really am talking about a friend, okay? So I was he's a colleague, I guess I'd call him. We are sitting there talking, and somebody had come and interrupted us. Okay? And I know everybody here is going to be like, uh-oh, it happened at the office. Uh-oh, who's he talking about? No, it wasn't at this office. but I have a colleague not in broadcasting, and we're sitting there talking, and somebody had come and interrupted. Now, I'm going to refer to them as third party, okay? So I'm sitting there with my colleague, third party comes in, interrupts, asks a question, and then actually just kind of sits down and starts chatting for a while. It was irritating, it was annoying, but whatever. The person, third party, then, after several minutes, left left the room where we were sitting, and we thought was gone. So my colleague then starts to kind of trash talk her, and is talking about, this new guy that she's dating, and he's a dick, and he's like this short little guy. Because, let me set this up. Because colleague kind of wanted to date third party, okay? And now you know that I'm not making the story about me, because I don't go for girls, so it's not me. So anyway, he is trying to do guy talk and be like, oh yeah, this guy that she's with, and blah, 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 blah. Come to find out, she didn't fully leave the area that we were in. She had gone, I think it was the bathroom. Like where we were, there was a bathroom. If you exit that room and go to the left, there's a bathroom, and then there's like a cupboard area with like office supplies and things like that. And so I'm assuming she went to the bathroom, and he had his back to the doorway, so he couldn't see which direction she went. But I wasn't paying attention because I didn't think that he was going to start trash talking her the second that she left the room, or making fun of her boyfriend or whatever it was. Now again, I say bitterness because he was just wanting to get laid. But, so she's got a boyfriend now, he's trash talking. And so the door was sort of half open, like it wasn't fully open. And then I happened to see her walk by now, going from the left now to the right, to where other people would be in basically the area that she came from. So my colleague is starting to have a shit fit that he got busted trash talking third party. And he started to freak out. And he's like, oh my God, oh yeah, my gosh, she heard what I was saying. Oh my God, this is embarrassing now. Like, how can I, go out there and see? Now, they are colleagues. They're not exactly co-workers that they would have to interact with each other on a daily basis. But they are going to cross paths in the office, sooner or later. A couple times a week, or, maybe once a day or something like that. But they don't work directly with each other. And so, what would you do in this situation? Do you try to kiss up to her and be overly friendly in the event that she did hear it, and you don't want her thinking you're a dick? So like when you know that somebody's pissed off at you and you kind of go out of your way to be friendly to them and ass kiss them, right? To me, that just infuriates me even more. It's like, no, don't. That's going to make it worse. So do you kind of try to kiss up to her and sort of, talk nicely and be overly friendly? Would that look suspicious if you do something like that? And secondly, what do you just maybe wait for her to come up, or do you try to make conversation with her to see if she overheard? Maybe do you bring up the guy that she's dating all of a sudden, and then maybe see if she's going to comment and be like, oh yeah, I heard you making fun of him being short and blah, 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 blah. What would you do in this situation? So now the good person that I am, and I am a good person, I started to freak out my colleague because I'm a dick and I wanted to. But so that's where I was like, oh my God, yeah, she totally heard you. Even if she was in the bathroom, you can still hear what you were saying. And he's like, oh no, I wasn't saying it that loud. Oh, no. And I was like, yeah, you kind of were. And so then he left the room and he's like, okay, I'm going to leave the room. You just start talking. I want to hear if I can hear you. All right, fine. So I wasn't talking. Actually, I did start talking very loudly. I was talking very loudly. And so he was just like, oh, well, it's muffled though. You can't really hear it. I'm like, okay, whatever. And then he brings it up again that he's freaking out that she overheard. I'm like, it's fine. I'm just bugging you. Like, she wouldn't have heard. She's probably the type of person that if she heard, she would have come like busting back in and go, excuse me, did you want to say something to me? And he's like, oh, I don't know. That's just awkward if she's going to, go and confront us. I'm like, us? I didn't say anything. I don't know the guy. I barely really even know her. I just know her name and kind of what she does at the company. I don't work at the company. I was just there because I work with them on projects from time to time. And so then before we were before we parted ways, he's like, okay, you go out there and see if you can hear me. And I was like, all right, fine. So I go around the corner to where like the bathroom and that little cupboard area thing is, the office supplies. And I can hear him. Now, again, I think that he's projecting more than he was when we were actually having the conversation. And it was a one-sided conversation because, again, I had nothing to add. I don't know the guy. I don't really know. I don't care about their relationship. And so I could hear him word for word. And so he's like, "Oh no, you couldn't hear me." And I said to him, like, "Yeah, you were just saying blah 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 blah." Like, how would I? Of all of the things you could have been saying, how would I guess blah blah blah? Blah blah, sure, but I heard you saying blah blah. Like, I legitimately did hear him. So then he was freaking out even more now because I've confirmed I did hear what you were saying. So again, it goes back to the question: do you say something to her? Do you go like, "Oh hey, did you hear us chatting after you left?" Or do you wait for her to bring it up and call you a dick and confront you? Like, what would you do if have you been busted talking about somebody? Did they come and say, "Hey, by the way, I heard what you were saying"? Or did it come maybe back around through the grapevine to you that they heard you? Send me an email, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. Again, I just... See, when I talk about people, I make sure they're far away and not anywhere in the vicinity. I make sure they've left the building. I've got no problem saying something to your face, but if I'm going to, if it's going to be gossip or whatever, like, I'm going to make sure that nobody's around. So if I'm going to go out for lunch with my brother and I'm going to trash talk a relative or something like that, well, I'm not going to do it at the family get-together where they're going to turn around the corner and boom, there we are, right? I'm going to make sure that, like, you're nowhere near, right? That's what I'm going to do. So send me an email, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. So what if I gossip? Who cares? Everybody does it.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on The Scribble. Thanks for tuning in at thescribbleshow.com and on SoundCloud and iTunes. We don't talk about relationships very much on this show. I'm trying to think, actually, the last time that we did was when we had two of those viewers of Bachelor Nation, right? We talked about online dating and apps and things like that. But let's talk about relationships just for a quick second here. Because there's that saying, honesty is the best policy. But is it ever okay to lie to your partner? Is it okay to lie to your partner to spare their feelings? I'm not talking about lie as though, you've got a secret relationship on the side. That's not what I'm talking about. But let's say they make some food for you specially and think you're going to love it, but it's actually gross. Do you lie and say that it's good? Do you? Right? Because that's going to spare their feelings. Or are you completely honest? Now, maybe if you're in that close in your relationship, your partner might actually be able to tell just by your reaction that you don't like it. But I've run into that before. But yeah, would you lie and say it's okay? What would you do? Send me an email, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. And when are the instances that it's okay to lie? I think there was a time when one of my friends, he's in a relationship, and his partner, there was a death in his partner's family. And so I understand, like, when you get that call and it's sort of urgent and you're like, just come home as soon as possible, and you start to freak out, and then it's like, oh my God, did somebody die? And you say no. Right now, are we grasping at straws here? Because that's, you're technically lying, but that's actually what's sort of recommended, right? Is you don't want somebody to drive if, they've all of a sudden just got devastating news. So, that might be an exception when it's okay to lie. Like, what do you think? When is it okay to lie to your partner, if at all? But when is it okay to lie? To spare their feelings, right? Or maybe they think they're a good singer and they're really not. Is it a safe place for the partner to go and say, you know what, actually you weren't that great at it? I don't know. Again, I don't know that there's necessarily a right or wrong answer. I'm sure if you ask relationship experts, they'll tell you point blank it's one way or the other. But share your thoughts. Maybe there are some exceptions to the rules, right? Send me an email, live@jbonair.com.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
That's right, we are on the Twitter, as my dad would say. Feel free to give me a shout anytime. It's always awesome hearing from you. My email address, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. Remember, we've got the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. You can check that out at entertainmentwrapup.com. And lately, there's a pattern. It's like celebrity lawsuits and sex scandals is what it is, but that's what we do here. Again, entertainmentwrapup.com. I will talk to you same time, same place next week. This is The Scribble. Bye-bye, everybody.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some real heat,